Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Wednesday Wisdom. We're halfway through the week. I feel like I've just come back from Brisbane, which I sort of did, the Gold Coast, but we're halfway through the week already. So it is lovely to have anyone that's watching. Please hit say hello and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. And if you're watching the replay, throw in hashtag replay as well. And if you're watching on any of the other channels, would love for you to hit the bell and the notifications and just let us know that you're here. We've got lots of things in the comments that you can check out, and you can jump on our Facebook page as well, Women of Light Movement. So my name is Elizabeth Eleanor, and I'm here with the beautiful Tania Loveheart. And Tania and I have never officially met as in physically, but we were just talking and found out that, like, I live in Shore Harbour and that she was living here about 20 years ago. And I just feel like we're on the same page talking about, you create your own reality is my sort of stuff, right? So thanks, Tania, for jumping on, and lovely to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Elizabeth. I feel great actually being here. So ready to have an interview and a chat. So yeah, thank you.
So let's just jump straight in, because when I saw, you create your own reality, I'm like, oh, let's have a talk. It's so good, because this is where we're all heading, right? We're actually understanding the power we have as creators. Yes. So tell us a little bit of what you do and what drew you to the work that you do.
So it is based on create your own reality, taking absolute full responsibility for the feelings that we feel inside of us, our emotions, which then beam out into the world and attract what it is that we're feeling. And a lot of the time that's just not so visible to us. And we can think, why is this happening to me? But there is an answer to that, and it has meaning and purpose. And it's the meaning and purpose that I believe that why we are here on this earth. Because without meaning and purpose, who are we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so that's the basis of my business, which is Labyrinth Heart. My business actually started many years ago, but it's just been on and off and on and off. So I've been doing my own journey and living my practice in the last 15 to 20 years. And recently I came across the Labyrinth. So that, and, I created one about 4 years ago in the bush, and it took me over 100 hours. So it became a part of a festival. And I watched thousands of people, move through this beautiful labyrinth that was my learning journey in letting go. So it was creating something and finding the place within that was not complete, but knowing that it was complete, moving away and just allowing whatever energy that it was attracting to be as it was, and that was an extraordinary experience to actually just accept that I had to let go of that, and it wasn't mine.
Yeah.
So the labyrinth from then, I wouldn't say it consumed me, but I definitely saw a sacred energy that I could use or interact with to bring more awareness to my life. And along the journey, I found Veriditas. They're an American not-for-profit organisation, and they hold courses online. So in amongst the COVID crisis, it was not so much a crisis for me, because I found avenues that I might not have been able to link up with before, and I just used it to my advantage. So I did Veriditas Labyrinth training and facilitation, and Labyrinth Heart came up with that. So I mean, it's such a beautiful name, and the labyrinth is a metaphor for life. You know, we come in through the body and we go out through the body. And essentially the labyrinth is it's a one-way path. So you're moving in to the center and, you know, becoming aware, releasing, and coming out with clarity. So those aspects can be used in everything in our life, whether you use the labyrinth or not. But the labyrinth is a tool that allows you to be focused and held. So, and I think that's really important. And many people, so I'm moving into a largely uncharted area with the labyrinths, and I'm aware of that, but I'm also aware that there are many people out there who, you know, love the energy of the labyrinth, walk the labyrinth, and it's a daily practice. So my mission is to bring this beautiful tool into the awareness of people so that they can use it to their advantage, with or without a facilitator.
Yeah, you know? Wow. And so the labyrinth is, you know, it conjures up, you know, mythical experiences, and, you know, like I often, you go back to, you know, the times of King Arthur and all that sort of, you know,
absolutely,
all that beautiful magic and you know, sparkly energy and all that sort of, you know, like yeah, it's got, there's so much what's the word I'm looking for? Magic is not quite the word.
Romanticization. It's quite romanticized. Yeah.
Yeah, it is too. Yeah. And so tell me a little bit more about the labyrinth itself. Do you take people through, have you got a physical one, or do you work with people online? How do you work with people?
All right, so I'll start with the public labyrinth. So I've just begun holding public labyrinth walks at Underwood Public Labyrinth. Yeah, so there's a beautiful labyrinth there with a massive rose quartz that's like this big in the middle of it. So if you want a bit of an injection of, you know, that love energy, that heartfelt energy, it's just magnificent to walk in and just to be embraced with that energy, meeting that energy, and allowing whatever's going to come up for you. So they're actually free, those walks. And I've got one coming up this Sunday at Underwood Park, and that's at Priestdale, so that is in Queensland. Really looking forward to that. So what I generally do when I facilitate a walk is come up with a theme, and just right now I'm not remembering the theme of this particular walk. But
you can put it in the comments.
Okay, so that's one of the ways I interact with the labyrinth with the public. So one day, and this was before the training, I got a message through, which I often do, and it said to create a labyrinth. And so, you know, within a week, I'd created the materials, calico, to build a 5 by 5 meter or a textile, to sew a textile 5 by 5 meter textile labyrinth. And so I did. And it took me like a couple of weeks, and I went from Red Tent Australia Bayside tent to lay it all out and just to draw it out without using any measurements. And this beautiful labyrinth is just marvelous. It is. Is
it still up?
It's not. It's packed away in a bag. This is the labyrinth that I take with me on the labyrinth walk and meditation that I've just started as well. So I go to the CWA hall here at Cleveland, and I pull her out, and she lays beautifully on the floor waiting for people to move into her magic. And one of the women that I know from Red Tent, and she also does the feminine sacred energy work, she and I had laid her out for the first walk at Cuchimudlo Island, and we did a blessing and an activation, and not specifically only for the feminine, but for the masculine to move into her as well. Even though we haven't had a man walking the labyrinth yet, so that'll be really interesting to have that masculine energy moving through.
Yeah.
And I welcome that as well. But at the moment, the meditation, labyrinth meditation walks at the CWA hall are for women only. So it's a contained space for women only, or women identified. Yeah.
And just for those that might not know, like, I'm just thinking, like, I remember when I turned, just before I turned 40, I was living up in far north Queensland in a little place called Yungaburra. And I was working, I had a friend that was a American shaman that was over, and I got this create a labyrinth, and I had all these volcanic rocks, and my front yard was massive. It was a massive yard to be able to put this pattern on. And it was really interesting because it was going to lock in an energy that was required at the time.
Wow.
And yeah, so can you just share a little bit about, you know, the power of the pattern, even, you know, like it's you know, because people might hear labyrinth and not actually have an understanding, you know, of what the power behind that actually contains. Yeah.
Okay, so you've got, I view the labyrinth as having two main archetypes, and they are the classical labyrinths and the medieval, which is the Chartres. The Chartres labyrinth. So that's in France. It's in a cathedral, in the Chartres Cathedral. I think some people say Chartres. Depends how you say it, and I'm not really quite sure of the pronunciation. So it's a sacred geometry. So it's a circuitous circle, obviously, that you will move around. Okay, so you're actually moving through and you're turning. So it's different to a spiral. So you've got to understand that a spiral is not a labyrinth. A labyrinth will give you turns.
Yeah.
Okay, so you'll go back and forth and back and forth. Now, the classical labyrinth is the one that I use, that I've sewn. And my preference is that one because it actually feels like, and a lot of women have used it for a representation of the womb. So moving into the womb and coming out. So it's like, you know, rebirthing, death and rebirth.
Yeah.
And that's quite symbolic, really, if you look at our life as well. You know, you've got, it's more than 4,000 years old as well. So understanding the energy behind this more than 4,000-year-old symbol of life.
Yeah.
And that has no containment on it of ownership.
Yeah.
Nobody owns it.
Patent this sort of stuff, right?
Patent it, trademark it, own it, or have any right to it, which means it's universal. Yes.
Yeah.
Pick up this labyrinth and use it whenever they want to. They can take a photo of it. They can, you know, move with it and promote it without feeling afraid that this universal symbol is going to, you know, encroach on anybody's ownership. So it's fearless. The energy is fearless.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a container of sacred energy that allows you to be fully held as you go in to focus on you.
Yeah.
And that is, if you want to call it magic, that is the magic that the labyrinth invites you to be present with. So, you know, going into the labyrinth is actually an offering to get to know you better.
Yeah.
To get to, and there are so many aspects of life and living. So you're obviously going to go in with something that you might not even be aware of, that's pulsing, that wants you to be aware of. And I think that's the energy that I love going in with, because I really truly never know. I can go in with a theme, but that theme may turn to, something else. There might be someone along the path as well that I'm, thinking, oh my God, she's in my way. How do I get past? Well, look at that statement, what you're thinking, and ask yourself, what does that mean in your everyday life and living? Because these are the questions we want to be asking ourselves. We don't want to be asking someone else what that means for us. It's like a dream. Your own interpretation is only ever from your perceptive, and that perception is geared toward how you feel. And no one's ever going to know how you really feel. Let's face it. And how you feel, absolutely. You might be feeling at different stages in your life.
And you've got different definitions around even words, right? Like,
definitions, and those definitions are different energies. And so I'm not sure whether that really answers the whole energetic experience of the labyrinths.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because the sacredness of that particular shape that you're talking about, when you say sacred geometry, and universal, the very fact that there's a movement, or that there's, as you were saying, these turns and twists and edges, and the actual shape is a container of its own, and the shape holds energy.
Absolutely.
So you're not walking in and going into nothingness and you're creating it as you go along. You're going in to something that has a power of its own that you're merging with to discover more of who you are, right? I think I've lost you. Did I lose you? There
absolutely.
You are.
Absolutely. There was a frozen bit there, but I think that encapsulates that aspect of it when you just said, discovering who you are.
Yeah.
That's right, because we are already that, but we don't know that. So discovering that aspect of you within that contained energy is just, it's allowing. It's allowing. There is no judgment.
And so we've got so much stuff layered on top of each other, layered and layered and layered, and we live in that. We live in that day to day. We live in that expression in our identity, thinking that this is who we are, and we're made up of all these, this pool or a soup of all this information from previous generations and all this sort of stuff. But to come into something that's got that much essence rather than power, and like that, it holds that, there's a thing called the morphic resonance field, right? And so the very shape of it actually holds it. It's like tarot cards.
Yes.
The energy of that particular symbol is so ancient that it holds its own prophecy, its own energetic fields that you can then step into. So
to receive messages. Absolutely. So I'll just go on. I know we've only got 10 minutes left, right? It feels like I could talk to you for ages, to be honest.
It's fun, isn't it? I love coming on here with connecting with people that are like-minded, and so good.
So one of the other things I do as well, so I'm an artist. I'm a ceramic artist, and I have been creating labyrinths for a couple of years now. So this one here, So that's one of the very first labyrinths that I created out of clay. It's actually not mine. This is my sister's,
Mm.
but it seems to have come back to me for a while. And so rather in the COVID climate, people couldn't go out and walk.
Mm.
They weren't allowed to. They weren't allowed to come into contact with people. So the handheld labyrinths became very trendy in terms of being able to have one in your own home and following the path with your finger.
Wow.
That's right, whether it's your left or your right, okay? So put on a bit of music, put your candles on, and follow the path and offer yourself that journey. It's so intimate. So I make them by intuition. And I also will sit there with someone and we'll have a conversation, and then I'll go off and make one as well. And I also do smaller ones, not smaller ones, sorry, handheld fabric ones made out of velvet or recycled material that I've actually heat pressed a labyrinth on it. So you can just fold it up, scrunch it up, throw it in your bag and take it wherever you want, because it's an extraordinary tool for when you are in an overload of anxiety or anything, and you've met with something and you grab it out and you start breathing and just tracing it. It just centers you, brings you back just to where you are. And when you are in this moment now, that is all you ever have to be, to know that you are safe.
Love that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I'm in love with the labyrinth.
Yeah, I can understand why. It's such a, you know, it brings us back to, it totally grounds us, you know. And
absolutely.
I love the idea of those handheld labyrinths, because what a great way to, you know, even if you're not in overwhelm, you're in the middle of processing something. For example, I just had the image of having one in my hand, and you're processing something. You've got something that's going on in your life, you know, fight with a loved one, whatever it might be. And so you have that moment, you stop and you just use your finger, you know, like, and you think and set the intention, okay, here's a corner. What am I doing? How do I feel about this corner? You know, like, in relation to the thing that I'm going through at the moment, you know, like, I can see it's very much a meditative process of coming back into self and grounding. So do you sell those?
Do actually, yes.
Yeah.
So my website is just undergoing some transformation at the moment. I'm just about to put up my offerings, and the labyrinths will be on there. But if anyone wanted to contact me, they can do so via the website or Tania Love Heart on Facebook. And if they were interested, I can show them some photos offhand and we can have a chat or whatever. So,
and do you do this online as well? Like,
don't, but I can see that that's something that would be really beneficial. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I suppose I'm emerging. Yeah. And it's taken me a while because I'm an introvert as well, I realize. And for me to bring out who I am and to offer that as a service has been an epic journey for me. And seeing myself in this light, in this light today, I'll just have a drink. There you go. I'm trying to silence myself, see?
Yeah.
Can't do that anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've had to stand in my truth of who I am, essentially, and that's where I am today. And this has been an opportunity. Right? Yeah, that's just like, well, here it goes. And I feel like there's this, you know, momentum starting to brew, and I'm not sure whether I answered what you actually
no, totally fine. And absolutely, I think you did, because I do feel that you're evolving, and I can feel there's stuff churning away and being birthed at the same time. So if someone wanted to get in contact with you and find out a little bit more, have you got a Facebook group or?
Yes, yeah, I do. So I have Labyrinth Heart, Inspiring Emotional Freedom. But if you, like I said, if you can't find that, just go on to Tania Love Heart and click on, like, I'm a bit of an open book.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I'm going to get you to, once we finish, we'll just jump back in and just check you know, any of the comments. But if you want to just put the links into the comments in our Facebook group, and then we'll add it to, it'll be below in the YouTube as well, and anywhere else my team throws it in. I don't know where else we put it, so
awesome.
Yeah, there'll be a way of contacting Tania down below somewhere, wherever you're watching from. So so good to talk to you, Tania.
This was awesome. Thank you.
It was lovely. It was lovely, and I love the idea that the Labyrinth Heart thing, the handheld one, I definitely would like to speak to you and find out a little bit more about that. So excellent. Take care. Thank you everyone for watching, and we'll catch you soon.